Hello students. In today's video lecture I am going to discuss about variables as part of the basics of C++ programming video lectures. In order to understand the actual the usage of variables, how to declare variables, how to manipulate variables, we have to understand the purpose of variables. So why I should actually need variables in the programs. The purpose is that we require a lot of memory while writing our programs. Depending upon the size of the memory, how much of data going to be manipulated by the program, we require a lot of variables, and those variables are nothing but indirectly they represent the memory locations. So actually our requirement is memory, and we get the memory in the form of variables. So variables are just names that we choose to give to the memory locations. That is because internally the memory addresses are in terms of decimal numbers or binary numbers like 100, 101 and so on. But for us remembering the numbers is very difficult, and so the compiler provides the provision that we can give convenient English names to the variables, and internally it will be translated into the memory addresses. So whenever I declare a variable as int a, for the compiler a represents a memory location which is known with the help of the storage. So it maintains a table that for this variable this is a memory location. So whenever you refer a variable name, it refers that particular table and finds out the equivalent memory address, and it goes to the memory location and access the value. So that is the basic need of variables. And okay, the next question is that why I need memory. Variables are representation of memory locations, but fundamentally why I need memory for a program. Before I tell you the actual answer, let me give you an example to understand it. See, we use a lot of currencies in our daily life, which is in our country we use rupee, and it may be dollar in some other country. So why basically a country needs a currency? It is to facilitate the transactions. So when two parties involved in a transaction, one is selling something and another is buying something, there is an exchange of money. That is the similar case when it comes to programs. Just like in the real world there is a transaction involving selling and buying, in computers there is a transaction called input and output. So some data comes into the program from the user, and some data goes to the user from the program. So it is a bidirectional transaction, and that happens with the help of data. So data is what being transacted, and memory is needed to hold the data temporarily. So whenever the user supplies some value, that value has to be maintained in some location, and while it is being manipulated, and finally there is a result produced out of the manipulation, and that result is also held somewhere in the memory, and finally it is revealed to the user. So that is the temporary area where we hold the data is what we call as a memory, and memory is it represented in the form of variables for the convenience of human beings. So that is the idea, and we will see different types of memories, that is variables, local versus global, compile time versus dynamic, all that will be discussed. So when you talk about variables, the first thing we have to actually discuss is the data types, because the declaration starts with the data type. So what is the need of data types? What is conveyed through data types? Basically data types convey two things. One is how much memory to be allocated for a particular variable is determined with the help of the data type. So if you declare int a, compiler allocates a certain amount of memory. If you declare float a, it gives a different a slightly more amount of memory. For character it further reduces the amount of memory. So that is the primary purpose of data types. It is to decide, for the compiler to decide how much of memory has to be allocated for a particular variable. Then why shouldn't be a common amount of memory for all the variables? That is not a efficient approach. Though we can give a common uniform amount of memory to all variables, in that case data types may not be necessary, but that will be wastage of memory, because when you store a decimal number you require larger amount of memory to represent it, since the values are actually converted into binary form. So conversion of the number into binary form, for integer it will take less number of bytes, whereas for decimal numbers it will take more amount of memory. So that is why the compiler is doing an efficient management of memory by giving less memory to integers and more memory to decimal numbers. And the second point that is conveyed through the data types is operations. So every data types is permitted to perform certain operations. So there are also some exclusions. For example, if you take integer, you can do all arithmetic operations including the modulo division operation, but for a floating point operation you cannot perform modulo division. Modulo division is only permitted for integers. So how the compiler decides whether a particular operation is accepted or not is that it is based on the data type. So these two details are provided with the help of the data types to the compiler. And these are the various data types, the same data types that you have come across in C. So character, int, float, double, and so on, and you can also apply a lot of type qualifiers like signed, unsigned, short, long, etc. And depending upon the data type and the type qualifier, it also the range also differs. So for example, for a character you can store from -127 to +127. Similarly, there are different ranges for each data type, and these are called modifiers. So signed, unsigned, long, short. If necessary, you can use them. For the purpose of the modifier is that you may improvise the data types further. Already we have done a good job by telling the data type. That is, if I want to store integer, I only need 4 bytes. So I don't want to excess memory which is required for a decimal number. This can be further improved by using this modifier. So when I say unsigned integer, what I actually tell is that I am not going to store any negative numbers or into the variables. So a particular bit that is assigned for determining the sign can also be utilized for storing the data. So that is what happens in the case of signed and unsigned. Similarly, short integer will reduce the memory size further, whereas long will increase it. And now we are getting into the variables. So we have talked about the data types, and we can associate data types while declaring the variables. And variables are the most fundamental part of any language, whether it's C or C++ or Java. The first thing you should know is that what are the data types available in that language and how to create variables with the help of the data types. And this is just to represent the point again, that whenever you declare variable, what really happens in the background is, in the memory some random memory location is allocated to the various variables. So this is just a sample case where A gets a particular memory into which the value is stored. Similarly, B gets some other memory, and C also gets a memory. This concept is very useful to understand pointers later. So pointers are actually manipulation of the addresses directly. So normally we manipulate the memory addresses through variables. So when I say A equal to A plus B or A plus plus, what I actually mean is the address of A has to be identified and its content has to be incremented by 1. So every variable access is actually memory access, but through pointers we can access the addresses indirectly. That the basis of pointers, which we will discuss it later. So this is the idea of a variable, and we have already seen the data types: integer, float, and characters. and normally for the integer the memory size happens to be 4 bytes, but it's not fixed. Remember that you can't give a fixed answer to the question of what is the memory size of integer. The answer is depending upon the processor characteristic. So every system gives a different amount of memory to the integer data type, but standard is 4 bytes, but it is not fixed. On 32-bit systems it is 4 bytes, and it may vary on different systems. And this is just a declaration of sample declaration of a variable. So int var1 int var2, and now you can think of the background event happening behind this. You are going to get a memory location for var1 and another memory location for var2. While the memory location of var1 will be empty, this will be filled with a value which is 5, and this statement is actually called initialization. This is just a declaration, whereas this one is initialization. And by rule in C, you have to declare every variable at the beginning of your program, but in C++, this has been relaxed, that you have to declare variable just before you use it. You don't need to declare it at the beginning of the program or function. You can delay the declaration in your program, but just before you use it, it must have been declared. But still, the good practice is always declaring variables in the beginning of functions. Next one is variable names. So we have to choose names for variables. There are certain rules that that restrict the selection of variable names. Like we can use any upper and lowercase letters in the variable names, and we can, and also you should also know that C and C++ both are case sensitive, which means that if you declare int capital A and try to use it as a small a equal to 5, it will lead to an error. So small a is different from capital A, and that is a point. And you can also use some digits while declaring variables, like a1 int into c5, like that, but you can't declare into 1a. So the first letter has to be an alphabet, it can't be a number. But if you want to avoid the first letter to be alphabet, then you have an option to use underscore. So you can declare underscore as the first letter for a variable name. And normally you can choose the variable names as anything as per your choice within the rules that are specified here. But a good practice is giving names meaningfully. So you must choose the variable names that convey the meaning of the purpose of the variable. So if you are going to store roll number into a variable, then you just declare it as int roll number rather than int a. So when you declare variables as a, b, c, x, y, z, for large programs or projects, it will lead to lot of confusions. So you will, at some point of time, you will get confused what is the purpose of variable a in your program. So it's better to always choose variable names that are meaningful, and through the variable names anyone can understand what is the purpose of that variable in your program. So this is a familiar one, assignment statement. So whenever you want to assign value to a variable, we have to use the assignment statement like this. Okay, the next point is regarding the scope and lifetime of variables. Variables are classified into two types, local variables and global variables, and they both have a lot of differences in terms of their scope and lifetime. So they differ in terms of their scope and lifetime. First, what is the scope of a variable? What do you mean by scope of a variable? Scope is nothing but the range in which it is visible. So the visibility range of a variable is what referred as a scope. So the example for understanding scope is that if you take the roll number, every student is assigned a roll number, but that roll number is only visible or accessible within the classroom. in a different classroom, the roll number becomes different, something else. So roll number 5 is there in every section, but there are different students assigned for that roll numbers because it's a local. Whereas register number is actually a global value. It is unique across the entire university. So the same register number will not be repeated for some other student. In the same way, we can create variables with the local scope by declaring them inside the functions. Whenever you declare variables inside a function, they automatically become local variables. So you don't need to specify that they are going to be local. They are becoming local just by the place where they are declared. So they are going to be treated as local variables. And lifetime. So what is a lifetime? As I already told you, variables are nothing but memory locations. Though we are referring it as A, B, C or something else, from the computer point of view, they are nothing but memory locations. So memory is a scarce resource. It's a expensive resource, only available in a small quantity. And in order to utilize the memory better, the compiler does a lot of memory allocation and deallocation. So it does not give the memory permanently to a program. It gives the memory, and as once the usage of the memory is over, the memory is taken back by the operating system and it is reused for some other program. So how this happens and when this happens is determined with the help of the variable, that is local or global. If it is a local variable, then its memory will be taken back as soon as compiler leaves the function. It's only the moment the function is started to execute, memory is allocated, and the moment the compiler exit from the function, the memory is reclaimed, and that is it has a short duration. It has a short life, the memory. Look at this example. You have got two functions. Function 1, where you declare a variable called int x and assign some value, and in another function you declare int x and give some other value. But for compiler there is no confusion since they both have the same names. They are declared in two different functions. So it's like the roll number. So there is no confusion. Within this function, this is the only x, and within this function, this is the only x, and though their names are same, their memory locations are entirely different. So where this x is stored and where this x is stored in memory is going to be totally different, and we will never know it. It's only known to the operating system. This is the idea of local variable. Now I want to create a variables which needs to be accessed by all the functions. So in that case, we have to go for the declaration of global variables. So unlike the local variables, these variables are visible throughout the program and have a lifetime till the completion of the entire program. So the two types of variables differ on both parameters, scope and lifetime, and here the lifetime is till you end the program, the memory will be retained by the global variable. And how do you create local variable? It's very simple. You just have to ensure that you declare them outside any function. So it should not be confined to any function. For example, here hash include is immediately followed by a variable declaration, and by default it becomes a global variable, and you can access this from anywhere. See, here I am going to I'm presenting an example that here there is a variable called count equal to 5, and you can see that it must be a global variable because it is declared outside any function. And then inside the main function I declare another count which is assigned value of 10. The question now is that which value will be printed in the printf statement, because there are two count variables and both are visible to the main function. Remember, in the previous case they both were local, so there is no confusion that compiler for a function 1 it automatically access one particular memory, for function 2 it access another memory. But here in this case both memory is visible to the main function. Their scope is within the accessibility of the main function. So here there is a rule applied, and that rule is that the local variable will hide the global variable. Whenever there is a common name used for global and local, the local variables will hide the global, which means that the output of this printf is going to be 10, not 5. Whereas in this function it's going to be 5 because there is no local variable with the same name. When you print the count variable, it's going to be properly printed as 5, and this point you have to remember. So to summarize the differences, local variables are stored inside a stack, and this point you just have to add into that list of differences. See, the local variables and global variables are not only different in scope and lifetime, they are also different in terms of where the memory is allocated. There are two types of forms of memory available in a computer called stack and heap. Stack is always used for local variables. So whenever programs ask for local memories, that is local variables, the memory is allocated inside the stack region, whereas whenever global variables are declared, they get their share of memory from the heap memory. That is another form of memory. That is one difference. And when you have to choose, how do you choose whether to go for global or local? The best practice of programming is that you must reduce the usage of global variables. You must try to conceive your logic which utilizing more of local variables than global variables, but you don't need to completely eliminate the usage. Sometimes you may have to access some data across all the functions. There you have to go for global variables, but in all other cases you must stick to the usage of local. That is because global variables are going to lead to a lot of confusions. We just saw an example that by mistake I might have declared a local variable with the same name, and I may be assuming that I am accessing the global variable here, but it will only be accessing the local. So these confusions will arise when you have a lot of global variables. And secondly, global variables will hold the memory for a longer duration, and that memory will not be available to some other allocation. So try to reduce the usage of global variables. The next idea is constant volatile qualifiers. So we have got these two which can be added with the declaration. So when you declare variables, you can declare int a as well as const int a. They are going to be different. So first we will take the const. Const stands for constant. So sometimes you don't want to change the value of a variable. Normally variables by nature you can change the variable name anytime. That's why they are called variables. You can vary their values, but sometimes you don't want to change the value. In that case you can declare it as a const. So const is the opposite of variable, that it won't vary, and it is compulsory to initialize a constant, like I have done it in this example. Const int a equal to 10. Imagine what happens if you leave the initialization statement, that you just declare it as const int a semicolon. In that case it will throw an error message, because if you miss the initialization for the const declaration here, you can never assign a value to the constant, and as a result it's a rule that you have to initialize every constant declaration. A very useful usage of the const declaration is that you can declare the arguments as const. So you know something about passing arguments. So from one function, if you want to send some value to another function, you use arguments. Once again, the arguments are necessary only when the variables are local. But if you have declared everything as global, then all the functions can see all of the variables and you don't need to pass any arguments. But as I already told you, that is not an ideal approach of writing programs. It may simplify your programming task, but you should not go for it's a shortcut. You don't do that. You use all the variables as local variables, and when needed you just pass them as parameters to the other functions. Okay, in that case, when you pass arguments to a function, it may be call by value or call by reference. So we will discuss elaborately the two methods of argument passing, but right now the point is that when you pass the arguments by call by reference, what it implies is that those values or those variables can be modified at the called function, and that modification will be permanent. So whatever change made in the called function will be retained inside the memory locations of the arguments, and they will be visible to the calling function. But sometimes if we don't want this to happen, that we want to send the arguments without allowing the called function to modify it. The answer is simple: go for call by value. Call by value is meant for that purpose only. So whenever you don't want the changes to be permanent, you make them call by value. But there is a problem here. Some arguments cannot be passed through call by value. You take the case of an array. So whenever you pass an array from one function to another function, automatically it becomes call by reference. You don't need to use any pointer for that. You don't need to specify anything about whether it's call by value or call by reference. The compiler will automatically treat it as call by reference only. So you have the possibility of the called function modifying its content accidentally. So you don't want that you don't want to give that chance. You don't want to leave that chance of accidental modification of the array elements. Then you just do one simple thing: declare the argument as const, like how I have done here. Const int the name of the argument. It may be a pointer or it may be an array name. Now what happens is that you can access the parameter argument at the called function, but you can't modify its value. It will throw an error message. The next type of declaration is called volatile declaration. So volatile tells the compiler that a variable's value may be changed in ways not explicitly specified by the program. We will never make use of this declaration in our programs, but you still have to be aware of it. So for example, you are using a program to control some hardware. Let's say your program is doing some activity based on the time. So every 1 hour you have to perform a task in a real world situation, like in a nuclear power plant or something. You are controlling some hardware with your program. So you have to find, know the time. Only then you can trigger something every 1 hour. So you have to get the time from the clock, and that clock will keep changing. The time of the clock will be keep changing, and in that cases you can declare the variable which is collecting the clock time as volatile, and without explicitly incrementing or decrementing, the value of the variable will be changing based on the change in the clock. And that's what the purpose of volatile. It tells that this particular variable's value may be updated implicitly. It may be updated implicitly with some kind of a hardware routine. The next simple idea is called storage class specifiers. We have got 4 class storage specifiers: extern, static, register and auto. So we will look at each one by one. The first one is called extern. So we have to first understand what is the idea of a linkage and what are the types of linkages. So the idea of a linkage is that when you declare variables inside your program, it may either have local in linkage or global linkage. So the meaning is like this. For example, I write two programs, and in the first program I declare a global variable. Let's say int global semicolon, and I want to use that variable in my second program also. It is possible that you can use one variable declared in another program some other program also. In that case it becomes a external linkage. So how you can achieve this usage is that in the second program you must not declare that variable once again as int global. Then they will be treated as two different variables and two memories will be allocated. But if you want to access the old variable already declared in the first program, you have to declare it as extern int a. So whenever you say extern int a, compiler understand that you don't want to create a new variable, instead you want to use an existing variable in some other program, and so it won't allocate a new memory location, instead it will access the same memory location of the previous program. So whatever value that is already assigned in that variable can now be accessed by the second program. But on the other hand, if you do not use the extend, then it's a normal case. They are two different global variables, and they can be used only within that particular program. That's the purpose of extend, and it's again a rare usage. When you write programs, many programs, and they all want to share some variable, then you can go for the extend keyword. This is an example for that. This is file 1, or you can think of it as program1.cpp and program2.cpp, and I have declared these variables here, int x comma y, and I do some manipulation. X is assigned to 123 here. In the second file, I declare it as int xy, which means that x and y are going to be related to the previous ones. Instead of creating new variables, they are going to be referred to the existing memory locations, and so this division y divided by 10 will actually happen as 123 divided by 10. That is the purpose of the extend. The next is actually called the static variable. Static variable has to be discussed in two forms. One is global static and local static. Global static is actually very simple to understand. It's opposite of extend. So what happens is that when you say let's say in this program these variables are declared as a normal int xy, and they can be reused in the second file. But if you want to prevent this, then you just have to add static here. So if you make it as static int xy, then this will fail. So it will disable the external usage. Whenever you want to strictly enforce a rule that my global variables should not be used by some other file, then you can make it as explicitly state it as static int xy, and then nobody can use the extend keyword to access your variable. So it is going to static is actually acting as a blocker of the extend usage. So that's all about the static global. But static local is very interesting, and you also have to know it properly. So the usage of static local is that is whenever you declare a local variable of a function as static, it has a completely different behavior. I already mentioned that every variable has got two characteristics. It's a scope and lifetime, and you know that the scope of a local variable is confined to the function in which it is declared, and its lifetime is also as long as that function is executed. When you use the variable as declare it as static local, what happens is that its scope will not be modified. It still remains visible only within the function, but its lifetime becomes equivalent to global variables. That is, and that static local variable will retain the memory for the entire duration of the program's execution, very much equivalent to a global variable. Look at this example, int main, and there is a function being called 5 times. Now what happens in the function is that I just declare an int variable, int variable assigned 0 and printing it as count plus plus. Just try to predict the output of this function. Some of you may think that this program will print it as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and some of you may think that it is 0, 0, 0, 0. So the actual answer is actually the second one. This program will continue to print 0 in all the 5 executions. That is because in each function call, a new memory is assigned to the count variable, and it is initialized with a 0, and here it's a post increment operator. So it won't impact the value. It won't be printing as a 1. It will only print 0. After that only it will increment. So 0 will be printed in the first time. Second time also, when this function is entered, once again a new memory will be initialized, and it is assigned 0, and that gets printed. and as a result you will only print get 0 printed on the screen for all the 5 executions. But what happens if I just change it into static int count equal to 0? Number one, static int variables are local, that is local static int local variables are initialized only once. So even if you execute this function 100 times, this statement of assigning 0 will not be repeated in all the cases. So it gets initialized only once, number one, and the same memory will be retained for this variable throughout this program, and as a result first time it will print 0 but it gets incremented, and second time it will print 1 and then once again incremented, and so it will print 0 1 2 3 4. So you can see the difference between the normal local variable and a static local variable. The next actually is actually not a important one, and it's no longer relevant in the current compilers. The original idea of a register variable is that normally the memory for variables are given from the RAM memory. So whenever we say memory allocation, we are actually referring to the primary memory or the RAM memory which is present in the computer. It is reasonably faster, but if you want to still make it much faster, then registers which are memory locations inside the CPU are the fastest memory in your computer, but they are very expensive. There are only few registers available in your processor. So for some reason, if you want to speed up the usage of some certain variables, you can mention that these variables may be allocated memory from the registers and not from the main memory. It is only a request. Compiler may or may not fulfill that. So that is the original idea of register variables, that those memories variables will be assigned the registers instead of main memory. But now that has been disabled. You cannot use the registers for your variables. Instead, it simply states that whenever you declare variable as a register, it's going to be used more. So the usage of such variables are going to be very heavy. That is the only point conveyed through that declaration, and it's insignificant for our purpose, but you just be aware of its meaning, that's all. But static local variable is going to be very useful. We can use it in lot of programs. For example, if you are asked to count the number of times a function is executed, you can use the static int variable in your program. And now to summarize what we have just discussed, we discussed everything about the memory usage of programs, which is data types, variables, variable declarations, how initialization of variables can happen, and what are the different ways by which we can modify the behavior of variables. So variables are basically named memory locations. Based on the data types, the amount of memory is determined by the compiler, and primitive data types are available across all the programming languages as int, character, float and double. But we will see later that we can create our own data types in C++. Local variables are also declared inside local variables are declared inside functions, whereas global variables are declared outside all the functions. Thank you.